This is ContactTalkRadio.com, consciousness in action, and you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Ping.fm, and Upsnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
All right, welcome everybody to the Healthy Self podcast and webinar. This is your host, Kate Archibald, and so excited to be with everybody today. And we're missing Reagan today. He had to step in and help out with some patient care. Had one of our providers that was sick. So I'm going to be doing this really intriguing and interesting interview today with our guest. Before we dive in there, want to just recap. Last night we did we started our heart health and brain health hack. And so wanted to make sure if you're a listener right now, or if you are live on the webinar platform, make sure you go to AccuEastWest/hack. That's HAC, stands for Health Accelerator Course. And that's where you can really, explore and register for this amazing community where we are doing health challenges on a weekly basis, having a lot of fun with it. So yesterday, our challenge was a lot of food based. So this was actually the most exciting, simplest challenge for me, because I feel like I got it somewhat dialed in. But over the next week, make sure you get some asparagus, broccoli, fatty fish, some lightly cooked spinach, and avocado. Those are your main foods. So, Stephan, hopefully you can handle that. So our guest today, really excited to introduce him, is Stephan Spencer. And so just a little bit on his bio. So he's an internationally recognized SEO expert, best-selling author. He's a host of two podcasts, Marketing Speak and The Optimized Geek. I love that one, The Optimized Geek. He's also authored Google Power Search, co-authored Social E-commerce and the Art of SEO. Now it's the third edition, considered the Bible on SEO. So really brilliant. Any of you out there that are in the tech world or in internet marketing, this guy is the guy. Just brilliant when it comes to that. So some interesting things. So, he sold his company about 10 years back, realized his life was out of balance, went on a quest to reboot his physical, mental, and spiritual wellness. And now he brings awareness to that all around him. And so excited to have you on the show today, Stephan. Welcome.
Thank you, Kate. It's so great to be here.
Yeah. So, just for the audience, tell us a little bit about what are you up to right now?
Yeah. Well, currently I'm in Tel Aviv, in Israel, and I can do this internet thing from anywhere. So
yeah, what time is it there?
6 p.m.
Okay, so it's in the evening. I was wondering, like, do we got you up here at like 3 a.m. trying to?
No. I used to do 3 a.m. webinars when I lived in New Zealand. That's a whole other story. Yeah. The location independence is a real gift.
It is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So, it's just been a wild ride here. Being in Israel, the energy is amazing. It's the Holy Land. It's been incredible. But we are leaving for Florida in just a few more weeks. And prior to July, we were based in Los Angeles. We've been here in Tel Aviv since July.
Nice. So I'm interested. So why'd you head to Tel Aviv?
Yeah, interesting story. So my wife is Israeli, and we were planning on making a visit here, but to stay for this extended period of time wasn't really in the plans. We were on our way to Florida from LA, and the strangest thing happened. I had a podcast interview on my biohacking and spirituality podcast, Actually, its new name is Get Yourself Optimized. It used to be called The Optimized Geek, but one of my coaches told me, rename the podcast because you want to be more kind of all-encompassing for everybody. If they don't identify as geeks, you still want them on your show listening. So anyways, it was a psychic medium that I was interviewing. I didn't at the time really, I don't know, buy into the whole mediumship thing, but I just felt compelled to have this guy on my podcast. He is in a mastermind that I'm in. We had a Zoom breakout session and just started talking. And he told me, oh, by the way, besides being an ad executive and copywriter, I'm also a psychic medium. I'm like, oh, tell me more about that. And I ended up, I had him on my podcast. It was the only episode I had in this 3-week time period. So we were getting ready to move to Florida. And this was back in June. And during the interview, my wife comes in with a piece of paper, slips it to me. She never interrupts my podcast interviews, but she interrupted this one. And on the piece of paper, she was asking about a particular family member. Is this person having, and for privacy reasons, I'll just share, it was a major potential medical issue, okay, with this family member. So I asked him while we were interviewing, is this person having this issue? Because it would be an immediate life-threatening issue. And he's like, absolutely, she is. Get her to the hospital immediately. And she was in Israel, and we were in LA, and thankfully my wife spoke to this person, made sure that she made it to the hospital because she was refusing to go originally, but with some convincing, it saved her life. And this was the only podcast interview that I had done in a 3-week time period. And it just so happened that it was at the very moment that this family member was having this immediate major medical issue. Yeah, there are no coincidences. So we changed our plans. Instead of going to Florida, we decided to go to Israel, spend time with this family member. This person's made a miraculous recovery, and it's been just a huge blessing. And it opened the door for me to this whole world of being able to communicate with the other side. You know, the unseen world is more real than the seen world. Wrap your head around that one.
That's pretty intense. Well, that's a really cool story. So, so you're in LA at this point. You cruise out to Tel Aviv, and so now headed. So what's bringing you to Florida? What?
We have other family members that we're gonna be nearby to. It's also, it feels like it's time. We're bringing family members with us too from Israel. So that's going to be amazing too. But the idea of kind of starting somewhere new in Florida where we haven't lived. I was probably 12 at the time that I lived in Florida for even just a year. It wasn't even quite a year. So it's been quite a while. It's a new experience. Nice. It's a new adventure. And it's going to be great opportunities there.
Love the new adventures and new opportunities. So awesome. Well, that's a really intriguing story. So it sounds like you've dove more into kind of these mediums or clairvoyance. Do you have someone in particular that you really like to work with, or is this guy that was on your podcast, is he the only one that you've really worked with?
Oh, I've worked with other mediums since. So let's see. This was Mark Nelson who started my exploration of this world.
Yeah.
I also interviewed Sheila Gillette, who channels 12 archangels. That was incredible. The 12 archangels go by the name of Theo, and I got to have a conversation with Theo on the podcast.
All right.
That was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, life changing, actually, life changing. So
Interesting. And what's the time? This was just back in, you said June. June's when you did the podcast of
yeah,
2020.
yeah. So that was, yes, 2020, and everything seemed to have accelerated since then. It's been quite a wild ride. And I'm a scientist. I am a like a total geek, the optimized geek, right? So
Yeah.
I didn't even believe in God really up until age 42. I was agnostic
Yeah.
for my whole childhood and adult life up until that point. And then I went to India and I had a spiritual awakening. I got zapped by a monk. So he touched me on the head, gave me what's known as a diksha, a oneness blessing, and it was like an LSD trip. Everything was in Technicolor, like a cartoon. It was amazing, indescribable. It was so beautiful. I don't know what LSD is like. I've never done any drugs, but if I could imagine what a psychotropic whatever substance would be like,
Yeah.
just getting touched by this monk on my head and feeling that deep sense of peace and connection. The monks explained to me afterwards that the divine is an experience, not a belief. Right? God is an experience, not a belief. And I
that's
didn't
incredible.
I didn't really understand that concept until I had the experience.
Wow. That's amazing. And so um so that experience alone probably reshaped your kind of whole direction and where you're headed. And so
That
was that
did.
kind of the start of that awakening and awareness of you focusing more on physical, mental, spiritual wellness? Or
That was
was
the
there
beginning of my spiritual journey. It wasn't the beginning of my physical makeover reboot. That started in 2010, or actually late 2009. I attended a Tony Robbins event, Unleash the Power Within. I was
nice?
not in a great place in my life at the time. I was going through a divorce. I was feeling depressed and not very proactive, and just I was stuck. I was stuck in life, and three different people told me within a very short period of time, you need to go to this Tony Robbins event, Unleash the Power Within. Three different people telling me within a very short period of time, who didn't know that they were all telling me this. There's this thing called synchronicity, right?
Yeah.
so yeah, coincidences are not coincidences. They're divine interventions. And I didn't realize that at the time, but I'm like, okay, three different people tell me this, I guess I should go. And that was the beginning of the reboot process. I did the fire walk, the walk on 2,000 degree hot coals and your bare feet. I didn't get burned or anything. And I'm like, wow, if I can do that, I can go get LASIK finally and not have to wear glasses anymore. I can get a hair transplant. I can change my diet. I can start working out and stuff. And 10 months later, I was literally unrecognizable from the previous version of me. In fact, I would show up at conferences to speak like I had in the past. I speak at a lot of SEO and online marketing conferences. People wouldn't recognize me. I would come up to a group of people who I all knew, and they knew me, but they wouldn't recognize me. I'd just be standing there, and they'd be having their conversation, thinking just some random guy came and
Like, who's this guy?
decided to hang out. and yeah, then I'm like, you know who this is, right? And they were shocked. It was fun. It didn't last that long because everybody got used to my new look, but that was that was quite trippy to not be recognized. And that was 10 months after the event, after Unleash the Power Within. Took a little while for my hair to grow in and for my diet and exercise regimen and everything to kind of reshape my body. But yeah, by about 10 months, 11 months, I was a new man. You can actually see the before and after on my getyourselfoptimized.com website on the About page. It's pretty fun.
Oh, nice. Maybe maybe Ann can pull that up at some point and share it or some on the screen, Ann. Yeah, and if you guys have any questions for Stephan while we're on here, type it into the chat box. Yeah, we try to make this as interactive as possible for all of our listeners. So, so you go through this journey. So you talk about some of the diet stuff. That's probably one of the most challenging. So my, how I got into working with Reagan, and he's obviously my brother, but I started working with him. It was about 9 or 10 years ago. I went through my own kind of health transformation where I was about 50 pounds heavier than I am now. I had no energy, just felt really flat, and reached out to him after trying everything. I was cutting calories. I was doing CrossFit. I was just getting really inflamed and feeling really crummy. And I'd always been, fairly athletic and pretty healthy up until, early mid-20s. And then I think I got a little too focused on work and kind of the corporate world and forgot about my health and left that at the wayside. And then my family suffered and everything. And so that was, he just completely transformed my life. It was, I lost quite a bit of weight in the first little process. And then over the course of about 9 months to a year, it was like I was on fire and really ready. So I resonate with your story because it creates, once your body feels good, you feel like you can take on the world, or you can just do so many more things. And, that's what we're really passionate about with our clinics is really getting people to that space. And so it sounds like you work with people in kind of that space now, right?
A bit. I do some coaching and I podcast, and I'm working on a self-help book that are all in that personal development and kind of
Nice.
reboot space. And I also have my SEO consultancy agency that we're doing work for corporate clients and business owners. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you guys are any of the listeners out there, I highly recommend taking a look. If you're a business owner or need some help with any of your SEO stuff, take a look. What's your website on that? I know Ann posted the getyourselfoptimized.com, so you can see the before and afters there. Let me see. I'm going to actually, my click to link isn't working, and I'll just get really distracted. I got
yeah, no worries.
So I'm just
so
gonna,
stephanspencer.com is okay. Stephanspencer.com is my main website, and that has all the SEO information on there and a lot of resources like
nice
webinar replays, video trainings,
very cool.
PDF downloads, all that.
Awesome. Yeah, so you guys can take a look at some of his stuff there. I want to go back to the clairvoyant medium. So you said you talked to the 12 archangels. Do you have a favorite one that you a go-to person that's kind of mentored you through this process, or is it just you kind of interview them?
Well, I ended up getting a Kabbalah teacher by the name of Eliyahu Jian to be my spiritual coach. I have different kinds of coaches. I've had a sales coach, Tom Kelly. I have a business coach / internet marketing coach, James Schramko. I'm in his mastermind as well, Silver Circle. And I felt I needed to have a spiritual coach because the messages were coming fast and furious. And I was kind of floating too much. I needed to be grounded in physical reality, and my wife was giving me some feedback about that. Like, you're up in the clouds. I don't even know what you're talking about half the time. You need to stay connected to the earth here. And so my first Kabbalah teacher from 5 years ago or whatever is Eliyahu. And no coincidence, my daughter, who's an SEO expert as well, ended up working with Eliyahu as her client. And so I kept in touch with him. And then I got a sign that, okay, this is the guy I need to work with. I was wondering, should I hire him as my coach? And then I opened up my phone and just swiped down, and there was a picture immediately, just swiping down one thing, and there's a picture of Eliyahu. I'm like, what are the odds, right? That's how this stuff works. Like, the messages are intense and amazing, and many of them are without a doubt just like they stand out. They're like neon signs in your life if you know to look for them, or to you expect that that's how you're going to be communicated with, and you'll get lots of signs. And so I've been working with Eliyahu now for, I don't know, 2 months, and it helps definitely ground me, but it helps keep me focused on what I should be doing next, and how to interpret the signs that I'm getting, and like all that. It's very, very helpful.
Very cool. So, yeah, and I think that's a really refreshing perspective, because it just from whether it's from a getting grounded or just getting some direction on what's next, because I think that's so key. Because we see so many people. You sold your company. I think I read back in 2010. So
that's right.
And I'm sure that can be that. So that's exciting, but at the same time, it's probably takes you to a place where it's like, I don't know what's next, and it's hard to really kind of figure out what you're going to do with your life. And it's kind of, I think, a lot of people experience that in retirement. Is you've spent your whole life focusing on kind of one track or one career, and then that rug gets pulled, and okay, what do I do next? And so it's always nice to have at least somewhat of a pattern of thinking to get creative there, because it's not like you have to go work, but to have a purpose and really it puts things into perspective, at least, right?
Yeah, it does. The danger is if you glom onto one particular guru, and that becomes essentially like your false god. That's very dangerous. And
I could see that.
In a way, that is what happened to me, because I got really full into Tony Robbins. That one event that started it all led to a whole bunch of other events. Like, I was in India getting that spiritual awakening because I was at a Tony Robbins Platinum Partner event.
Oh, wow.
Which was amazing. It was incredible. He's big into oneness, which is it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. It's like the sugar that you can add to your tea or your coffee or whatever your religion is, or if you're not even religious, it doesn't matter. Oneness is compatible with all of it. It's kind of like the universal law of how the universe works, and how you can have an intimate, personal relationship with the creator, with your higher power. But yeah, I ended up pulling back from that organization of the Platinum Partnership, because I put so much other stuff on hold. I was traveling so much, going from one event to another to another. I've attended so many Tony Robbins events in that 3 or 4 year time period. I could probably recite a lot of his content, and it was time for me to move on, because he actually ironically has a movie on Netflix called I Am Not Your Guru. Nobody should be your guru, in my view. You need to pay attention to the message and not get attached to the messenger. There are so many messengers. People even who you would consider your enemies will bring you messages. They'll just be inspired to say something that was not from them, but from above. And you got to be tuned in for the messages. You need to know how to discern the messages from the messengers, how to discern what's truthful and what's mixed with lies, right? Not every message is from the light. So you got to be discerning, and you have to be smart about it. And you also have to calibrate, because some people are not ready for this. They live in a very three-dimensional reality, and they don't believe in anything. And synchronicity is to them is just a word. I just recently learned, in fact, where synchronicity comes from, that term. Do you know this story?
No. Let's
It's
hear
really
it.
beautiful. So Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, the friend of Sigmund Freud, and just a brilliant innovator of his time in the area of psychoanalysis and shadow work and everything. He is the person who came up with the term synchronicity. And what happened was he was doing psychoanalysis on a patient. She was in his office, recalling a dream. So he was having her recall what the dream was. It was and this woman, by the way, didn't really believe in anything. She couldn't hold it or see it or taste it or whatever. It didn't exist.
Physical.
Didn't exist. She's recalling a dream in the session about a necklace, a scarab necklace. And while she's recalling this dream, Carl hears a tap on the window. They're 3 stories up. And it's an incessant tapping. Tap, 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 tap. Just really wanting Carl's attention. And so he goes and checks the window. Now the room is dark. 3 stories up. Like, how is this even happening, right?
Yeah.
And guess what's at the window?
What is it? The necklace?
It's a scarab beetle.
Oh wow!
An actual live scarab beetle.
It's tapping on
the window to get into a darkened room 3 stories up. Like, wow. What are the odds? When you hear yourself saying, "What are the odds?" or "That's weird," or "That's pretty crazy," know that that's synchronicity. That's a message.
I like
that's divine intervention.
Coincidence.
Yeah, it is coincidence. There, Tony Robbins says this all the time, and I loved the expression. There are no coincidences, and I got it, and I really believed it, and loved that expression. Every time I heard it, I'm like, yeah, totally, I get it. But it's whole other level. Now that the messages, it's amazing. Like, this is a very exciting time for humanity, because we get to show up. This is a time when people need to show up. This is not an easy time right now. This decade is going to be very challenging, and we need to step into our power, spiritually speaking, and not just let things go all haywire. Like, this is the beginning of a very challenging time. We're not just wrapping things up with, okay, pandemic's over and like back to normal. No, there's some challenging times ahead. This decade, it's a make or break decade. So this idea of synchronicity, imagine Carl opens the window. He grabs the scarab beetle, who just like flies into his hand, and he shows it to the woman and says, "There's your scarab beetle." This woman who didn't believe in anything, out of the blue comes a scarab beetle that he presents to her while she's recalling the dream. Like, that shook her whole world. That was a paradigm shift in her life, and also for Carl Jung. He was so inspired by this episode that he wrote an entire book on the topic, coined the term synchronicity. The book is called Synchronicity, and he did so much research into this phenomenon of angelic intervention. It's really cool.
Love that. That's really intriguing. I love the term synchronicity compared to coincidence. I think that's brilliant. So we had a question come in from Diane. Can you recommend a starting point for anyone who wants to get more involved in spiritual world or how the universe works? Any like starting points for us beginners in this world?
Yeah, well, it depends on what you're hoping to achieve. A couple great places to start. One is the Kabbalah Center. So Kabbalah.org, or no, .com, sorry. KABBALAH.org. KABALAH.com. And in particular, there's a great course that I'm going through right now on Kabbalah.com. It's called How We Receive Messages. There's an online tutorial kind of courseware program on Kabbalah.com that you become a member of, and you can get unlimited courses. I recommend that. The first month is free. I think it's $40 a month after that. Even if all you intend to do is just get the free month, do that and watch that course, How We Receive Messages. Oh, and another coincidence or synchronicity, I just found out this week, I felt like, I don't know, inspired or compelled to tell Eliyahu, my spiritual coach, I'm going through this course while we're doing the coaching session. And guess who wrote that exact course?
He did.
He did. Of course he did. I'm like, whoa! That's like, this stuff happens all the time now, and it's really fun, really, really fun. So I recommend that. I also recommend if you're into clairvoyance or kind of the unseen world in that regard of like spiritual mediums, spiritualism, or whatever. There's a movie on Netflix called Kardec, Kardec. That's really, really cool, really good movie about Allan Kardec back in the 1800s, founder of Spiritism.
So is that like also a documentary or?
Not really a documentary, more like just a movie of his life.
Okay,
it's really,
cool.
Really cool. But then there is a docu-series on Netflix as well called Surviving Death. There's also an HBO documentary from a decade ago or so called No One Dies in Lilydale. Yeah. So, like, let's take the Netflix docu-series Surviving Death as an example. So they interviewed these different mediums and so forth, and there's an episode of that show on receiving messages from loved ones who've passed. And my ex-wife's mother had passed in January, and my adult kids were very affected by that. They missed their grandma.
Yeah.
My stepdaughter from my previous marriage doesn't really believe in anything not tangible, but she happened to be, again, coincidence, not somehow watching this show on Netflix about receiving messages from deceased loved ones on that Surviving Death docuseries. So she decides to do the thing in the episode, which I guess would be to pray for a message or whatever. I didn't see the show, so I don't know exactly what she did. But a half hour later, a brochure shows up in her driveway, and it has the words "Granddaughter, I love you," and then a picture of the very music box that her grandmother had given her 30 some years ago.
Whoa.
As a child. Yeah. That she hadn't seen in forever. And it's on a brochure, and she's sobbing and she's so grateful, and she sends a picture of the brochure to all of the family and everything. Like, that's pretty amazing. So that just like all of those sorts of things happening in a very short time period for me was like a big culmination of like, okay, I get it. There is a lot more to this than meets the eye. I believed in God. I believed in being able to connect with the Creator and get lots of guidance, but I didn't know I could get like messages. Like it's a conversation. It's amazing. Like you pray, that's you broadcasting. If all you're doing is you're just asking for stuff, that's kind of first level. The next level is realize this is a conversation and I need to listen. I need to meditate in the mornings. I need to quiet my mind, my monkey mind, so that I can be receptive for the guidance later in the day. And that guidance may take in the form of a coincidence of synchronicity, serendipity, or it could take a form of a dream that later that night while you're sleeping. It can take the form of something that just shows up at your doorstep or while you're going on a walk or something. Like a friend of mine, her husband had passed, and she would just start seeing feathers everywhere. She'd just go for a walk, and there's a feather, so she started collecting them. And she just had this sense that it was her husband who had passed. Yeah. So the messages show up in different forms, and if you are tuned in and receptive to it, then the messages increase in frequency, and then you can actually get guidance. Like, should I do business with this person or not? Should I move to this destination or this destination? Like, you can ask for guidance. You don't have to go to a coach or a medium. You can get direct guidance. And again, it's conversational. You ask, you listen. It's a partnership.
Yeah, I really like that. So, no, I think that going back, so our kind of title topic today is biohacking, life reboots, and spiritual awakening. So, I think that's one thing with like meditation in the morning or just starting off the day by calming that mind. Because I think we can all relate with you wake up in the morning, it's like, okay, what do I got to do, and what's my objective, and we're very kind of results oriented beings, or doing beings. So instead of being, we're human doers.
Human doers instead of human beings. Yes.
And so I think that's so key to just get in yourself and be present and not have this back and forth in the brain and the mind that's telling you what your agenda is for the day, as opposed to just being a lot more open to what the world is, what's and how you can just be. So I think it's a beautiful thing.
The worst thing to do is to let other people set your agenda, not even to jump into your to-do list immediately, but jump into somebody else's to-do list that they've made for you. And that's what so many of us do. It's what I used to do every morning. First thing, grab my phone, check my email, because that inbox by definition is what everybody else wants from you, not what you want out of life and your business and whatever else, but what everybody else wants from you. And I did that every morning, first thing. Bad idea.
Yeah. No, and I think we do that, whether it's checking your email, getting on social media, like scrolling your Instagram or Facebook, or watching the news. Like it's everybody else's agenda is driving your whole thought process and mind. Diane has another great question. So quieting the monkey mind is so hard. I do Joe Dispenza's Blessing of the Energy Centers meditation each morning, but I can't calm my mind. Any suggestions?
Yeah. Well, Joe Dispenza is amazing, and his meditations are amazing. I actually know Barry Goldstein, who does all the music for Dr. Dispenza. He's in Genius Network. Yeah, which is how we met. What was that? Several years ago.
Yeah.
Joe's great. Barry's great. So I'm not dissuading you from continuing with that. That's fabulous what you're up to. I would recommend adding some additional things to your regimen, and don't try to take on too much too soon. There's a book by B.J. Fogg called Tiny Habits. And the main premise of that is to start small with an easily reproducible habit that doesn't feel onerous. For example, if you want to start the habit of brushing, or let's say flossing every time you brush your teeth, just floss one tooth. That's it. You've succeeded if you've flossed one tooth. Or if you want to read every night for an hour before bed, that's too much to commit to initially. So just make the tiny habit be, I will have the book by my bedside and I will open the book. I have succeeded if I have opened the book. So think of something small that you can do. If, for example, you want to start adding to your morning rituals, doing a 108 mantras. Right? So let's say that you got a mantra and repeating it 108 times, that's a little bit of work. That takes a few minutes. Just say it once. Yeah. Or let's say that you want to add a prayer to it, to the morning ritual. I have this prayer I always do in the morning and at night. It's called the Ana B'Koach. It is it's a Kabbalah prayer. It's the most powerful prayer in Kabbalah, and there are 7 lines to it. That's a 42-letter name of God, and I do this meditation around this every single day. I didn't used to. I used to do it really spotty, and then after I started getting like all these messages, and I started getting a lot more guidance, I'm like, I can't start my day without this. It's not like another thing to do. It's like as basic for me as brushing my teeth or having breakfast. Like I'm not going to not eat for 3 days because I'm too busy. I'm not going to not brush my teeth for 3 days because I'm too busy. And I'm not going to not pray for 3 days because I'm too busy. So this is really, really powerful. Just do this. I'd say just do this. Start here. The Ana B'Koach prayer, you can get it online from Kabbalah.com. There are other places, of course, online. It's not a trademark of the Kabbalah Center or anything. This is an ancient prayer. But yeah, the 7 lines
so that's all
have
in
7
Sanskrit,
meditations.
though, right?
That's in Hebrew letters.
In Hebrew.
You don't have
and
to.
Then it has
You don't need to translate it or anything. You just say it aloud. You scan the Hebrew letters because the Hebrew letters are angelic. They're not man-made, and just scanning them is powerful. And say the words which are underneath. They're in Hebrew, of course, but you don't need to I don't understand the Hebrew. My wife is Israeli. Of course, Hebrew is her first language, and I still don't know most of what this means. Ana B'Koach Gedolat Micha Tetir Tzaroa. I can pronounce it pretty well, but I have no idea what that said. But the main thing is to scan the letters and to meditate on what the line is about. For the first line, it's the removal of time, space, and motion, the power to transform all chaos in the tree of knowledge, good and evil, into miracles in the world of the tree of life and unconditional love. Those are the concepts to focus on, to meditate on with the first line. And there are multiple levels to this. So I first got out of it.
That was the first line that you.
Of the 7,
of it was the first line.
Yeah, that's the meditation around it.
Because I think
it's so powerful.
Whether because this is something you can use whether you're, we're in Utah, so obviously the main faith here is LDS. So I think that ties right in there. There's, whether what religion you are, or if you don't have a religion, I think that's some place that you can explore and see where you're.
Yeah, that's right.
How that affects your internal being, because I think that's important.
I'm not Jewish. My wife is Jewish. I'm not Jewish. But I'm studying Kabbalah. It's like the ancient self-help movement, and I'm getting so much value out of it, and so much more connected to the Creator from it. And I realize that there's no religion in heaven. There's no religion. It's not like there's in heaven you have the Jews and the Christians, and LDS, and like no, it's that's down here. And so if you want to transcend that and just speak directly to the Creator and not have to worry about following certain rules or whatever, and you just you look for guidance from your guardian angels, from the Creator, from your higher power, it's magical. It really is. So that prayer, you don't have to be Jewish, you don't have to be a Kabbalist, but it will yield results. So that's one. There's another one that I
and I'm
added
gonna I'll just add to Anne just posted here for Diane. So Anne is our she's our content manager, and she's on the back end making sure all this goes off. So thank you, Anne. And she's putting some great content on the chat box here. So she just wrote she was having a similar tough time with the mindfulness exercises. And that was tough. She started doing the Ziva technique with the Ayurvedic mantra, and that did the trick for her. And then she loves these suggestions. She's going to start using those. Awesome. Nice. And then
and so many of these resources are just free, available online. You just Google for it.
What's the name of the prayer?
Ana Bakoach. ANA, and then the second word is BKOACH. There's a apostrophe after the B.
There we go. Thanks, Anne. She got it.
Yeah, so you can Google that, and you'll find there's a prayer. It looks like this, the 7 lines, and like I said, the first line, there's so much depth just to that. First, I got out of it that I need to disconnect from the tree of knowledge, like my insatiable thirst for learning everything about the virus and about the pandemic and about whatever, like the Brady-Kinnon hypothesis. I got to learn about that or whatever. You got to disconnect from all that and then connect to the tree of life, and that's where all the miracles are. So that was level 1, and then level 2 for me was, oh, wait a second. It doesn't just say disconnect from the tree of knowledge and connect to the tree of life. It actually says the power to transform all chaos in the tree of knowledge, good and evil, into miracles in the world of the tree of life. In other words, I have the power to transform chaos into miracles with, the power of co-creation with the Creator. So that is a whole other level. Turn chaos into miracles. And I didn't get that for the first X number of months that I was doing this meditation. So there's always more to get out of it. There's more depth there. And there's one other prayer that I've added to the mix in the last few months, and it's this one here. This is Metatron's Prayer, Protection, and Abundance. Archangel Metatron gave this to Michelle White Dove in a channel of prayer. And this is also available online for free. It is very powerful. You put 3 bubbles of protection around you, and you visualize yourself inside of it's a sacred geometry figure called the Merkaba. It's looks like this with 2 pyramids, one right side up and one the other, facing downward, and it's like an angelic light ship, and you can imagine yourself in that, inside of the 3 bubbles of protection, and then you do these prayers. It is very powerful and very protective. Also, some Kabbalists where
it makes you feel bulletproof, right? You got like this whole bubble around you just to ward off any I especially in today's world. I think about back in the day, and words are powerful, but I also think that old saying of I'm rubber, you're glue, whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you, is actually a really good thing that we need to go back to, because there's so much of this talk and censorship of what we're saying. And yes, be nice to just be nice to each other. We're all human beings here on this planet, but at the same time, if someone does say something that offends you, get over yourself. And I think that's where, and I'm sure this was not where you're going, but this is what I imagine is like, that's my shield. So if someone says something to me or does something to me, I'm not going to react to it. I'm going to be me, and I'll choose my course of action from there.
Yeah, just unconditional love. I mean, that's the name of the game. If you can love somebody who spits on you, that's a game changer. That changes not just you and your destiny, but it changes the field around you, and everybody changes because of that. You can't change anybody. Don't try, but just change yourself. Like Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. And the way that you do that is by embodying the best qualities of what you want to see in the world. And that becomes a model for everybody else. And it also changes the field around you, the energetic field.
Love it. Love it. We just got the 5-minute warning. So I want to, I want to ask a few questions on, we spent a lot on the spiritual awakening and super intriguing stuff. Thank you for sharing that. Any other like biohacking, what would you say, like any favorites on the biohacking world, or what
so many
for health?
So many.
This is like a whole nother hour conversation. We got 5 minutes, so go.
Okay. All right. Lightning round. Stem cell therapy. My wife and I both did that. It was amazing. Nice. I was actually in your neck of the woods. It was in Park City, Utah. Dr.
Awesome.
Harry Adelson, Doceri Clinics. Yeah, he's amazing.
Well, you just missed it. We do a lot with stem cells as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
In Salt Lake. Love what, Dr. Adelson does some great work. I'm right there with you. Love the stem cells.
Yes. So that's been fabulous. We did 40 years of Zen, which is the week-long neurofeedback training in Seattle area. That's one of Dave Asprey's companies.
Yeah,
that was incredible. It had unlocked memories I hadn't had since my early childhood, and that I hadn't remembered my whole life until attending that program. Is amazing. It's the concept is 40 years of Zen meditation without having to spend the 40 years. You're hooked up to these neurofeedback machines. You're able then to know if you're if your hemispheres are in coherence. You're able to know if you're in alpha or theta or whatever versus beta waves, and your unconscious
it's really
mind.
Training your mind to just tone down.
To stay more in theta.
Something for you to get those brain waves, longer frequencies rather than the short beta waves.
Yeah, that's really powerful. There are a bunch of supplements that we take. I take Epicor every day, and Neo 40, it helps with nitric oxide production. Epicor helps strengthen your immune system. Of course, things like vitamin D and methyl B12 and so forth. You want to know if you have the MTHFR mutation. So then you need to absolutely make sure you're taking methyl B12 if that's the case, because you're not going to be able to process regular B12 and utilize it if you have that mutation, which many of us do. What else are we taking?
Beautiful. You do. So I started. Reagan got me on some different peptides.
I have not taken any peptides yet, but that's on my list.
Nice.
I'm gonna check into that once we're back in the States.
In Florida, great
go
place
ahead.
to get some. We've done a few podcasts with Dr. Lawrence. I think he's in South Beach or somewhere in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Lawrence. All right. I will check him out. Ion Biome used to be called Restore. I take that every day, multiple times a day, to help guard my gut microbiome against the Roundup, the glyphosate, that is just bombarding all of us with all the Monsanto genetically modified corn and soy and everything. That's just not good for your microbiome. I'll leave it at that. So having something that restores the network, the connectivity between the cells in the microbiome is really quite helpful. So that's Ion Ion Biome, used to be called Restore. And
they're all great.
yeah, there's a lot. Tru Niagen is another one. So that's a NAD boosting supplement. TRU Niagen. There's also some biohacking devices that are very helpful. Like, for example, wearing during the day TruDark glasses like this to reduce some of the blue light exposure in the afternoons and so forth. And then at night, these are also TruDark, but these are the TruDark twilights that you wear at night to block blocks all blue light, so you're not going to get your melatonin destroyed from the blue light exposure. So much junk light that is not good for us, that ruins our sleep because it ruins our melatonin. Oh, and here's another cool biohack. This is a device called the Hapbee, Hapbee. You can wear that around your neck or on your head, and there are 6 signals you can choose from the app on your phone. There's
and I think Anne, you just got the wristband. They have a wristband one too, or hers is Apollo. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a competitor, Apollo Neuro. But Hapbee is one that I've been using, and it can help you with your sleep. It can help you with focus, with being more relaxed. It's really cool.
Love those. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. That was an amazing conversation. So, for anyone wanting to learn more about you, anywhere specific for them to head to?
Well, besides stephanspencer.com, which you mentioned earlier, there's the podcast websites for my 2 shows. GetYourselfOptimized.com. That's the biohacking spirituality podcast, and then Marketing Speak, which is my marketing, SEO, online marketing, Facebook advertising, all those sort of marketing topics. That's marketingspeak.com.
Love that. Thank you so much. And I love it how you can be, we get in the business world and also can be in the spiritual and just that awakened state. So love you for joining us today. Amazing show. We'll be back same time, same place next week, everybody, and have an amazing week. We'll see ya.